From darkness to light, creating safe spaces for healing and transformation. Have you ever felt like you were drowning in plain sight? Like you were smiling through meetings, handling your business, checking all the boxes, while inside a storm was raging that nobody could see? I recently had the privilege of interviewing Shintika Travis, a remarkable spiritual guide and community healer whose work has transformed countless lives. Shintika isn't just creating ripples of change, she's generating tidal waves of transformation in communities that have historically been denied safe spaces for authentic healing. Her ability to hold space for people's darkest moments while guiding them toward their light is nothing short of revolutionary in a world that rushes us toward toxic positivity. What struck me most about my conversation with Shintika was her unflinching honesty about a truth we rarely acknowledge. Sometimes the darkest moments of our lives become the very soil from which our purpose grows. But that transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It requires something many of us have never been given: safe spaces to heal, to break, to rebuild. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt completely safe to fall apart, to not have all the answers, to admit that behind your carefully curated social media feed and professional accomplishments, there are wounds still calling for your attention? For many Black women and men, that space simply doesn't exist. We're told to pray about it, to push through, to be strong. And while faith and resilience are beautiful gifts of our culture, they were never meant to be substitutes for healing. As Shintika shared with me, this gap between our pain and our access to culturally affirming healing spaces isn't just unfortunate, it's devastating. It's keeping us trapped in cycles of trauma that ripple through generations. The statistics tell a sobering story. Black women experience higher rates of trauma and chronic stress, yet are among the least likely to receive appropriate mental health support. Not because we don't want it, but because the barriers, financial, cultural, and systemic, stand like walls between us and the help we deserve. But here's where hope enters the narrative. Because across the country, visionaries are creating the very space that Shintika advocates for: sanctuaries where our full humanity can be witnessed and tended to. Take the Loveland Foundation, established by Rachel Cargill. What began as a birthday fundraiser transformed into a movement that has funded over 10,000 hours of therapy for more than 5,000 Black women and girls nationwide. Think about that for a moment. 10,000 hours of healing that might never have happened without this initiative. That's 10,000 hours of women and girls reclaiming pieces of themselves they thought were lost forever. One woman who received therapy through the foundation wrote, "For the first time in my life, I didn't have to explain my Blackness before I could explain my pain. I could just heal." Imagine that. The luxury of simply healing without the exhausting tax of translation that comes with navigating systems not designed with us in mind. But healing isn't just for women. Black men carry unique burdens too, often with even fewer culturally safe outlets for processing pain. This is why platforms like Therapy for Black Men are so revolutionary. Founded by Vladimir Kalixty after witnessing friends and family suffer in silence, this online directory has connected over 30,000 Black men with therapists who understand the complex intersection of their identities, including their spirituality. One user shared, "I spent years thinking therapy wasn't for men like me. That church was enough, that I should just man up. Finding a therapist who understood both my faith and my trauma changed everything. I didn't have to choose between healing my spirit and healing my mind." This integration of spiritual and psychological support is exactly what Shintika emphasizes in her work. The either or paradigm has failed us. We need both and approaches that honor our whole selves. Perhaps no one understands this better than Taraji P. Henson, whose Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation emerged from witnessing her father's untreated PTSD after serving in Vietnam. Like too many Black veterans, he returned to a country that neither valued his service nor provided adequate care for his invisible wounds. During the height of the pandemic, when collective trauma was at its peak, the foundation distributed over $600,000 specifically for free virtual therapy services for African Americans. But beyond the financial support, they've sparked crucial conversations about breaking the stigma around mental health in our communities. As Taraji often says, mental health doesn't discriminate, it affects all of us. But access to care absolutely discriminates. And that's what we're fighting to change. What these organizations understand, what Shintika has built her life's work around, is that healing isn't a luxury. It's not self indulgent, it's the foundation upon which everything else in our lives stands. When we create safe spaces for Black women and men to heal, we aren't just addressing individual pain. We're disrupting generational patterns. We're creating new possibilities, not just for ourselves, but for our children, our communities, our collective future. But what does a true healing space look like? According to Shintika, it requires several essential elements. First, cultural competence. Our experiences as Black women and men are shaped by unique historical, social, and spiritual contexts. Healing spaces must acknowledge and honor these realities rather than asking us to compartmentalize parts of our identity. Second, accessibility. Healing shouldn't be a privilege reserved for those with disposable income or flexible schedules. True accessibility means addressing financial barriers, geographical limitations, and the practical realities of lives often stretched thin by multiple responsibilities. Third, wholeness. Effective healing space recognize that we are spiritual, emotional, physical, and intellectual beings. Our healing must address all these dimensions, not just the symptoms of our distress. And finally, community. While individual healing is vital, there is profound power in collective healing, in knowing we are not alone in our struggles or our triumphs. This is where transformation becomes possible, not just surviving our wounds, but allowing them to catalyze something new in us and through us. I'm reminded of the African concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Our healing is interconnected. When one of us finds pathways to wholeness, we illuminate possibilities for others. This is the ripple effect that Shintaka's work creates. One healed person becomes a healing presence for many others. But let's be honest, creating and accessing these spaces requires courage. It means challenging deeply ingrained beliefs about strength and vulnerability. It means investing resources, time, money, energy in our well being. It means believing we are worthy of healing, not just endurance. For some of us, it means acknowledging that the spiritual practices we've relied on, while valuable, may need to be complemented by other forms of support: prayer and therapy, faith and medication, community and professional guidance. These are not contradictions, they're companions on the journey to wholeness. As one recipient of the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation services put it, my grandmother taught me to take everything to the altar, and I still do. But now I also take some things to my therapist. Both spaces are sacred to me. Both spaces are sacred. That's the paradigm shift we need. So I stand before you today with a challenge, a call to action that extends beyond these walls and into the very fabric of our communities. What if we stopped waiting for permission to heal? What if we decided collectively that our wholeness is non negotiable? I challenge you to become both seeker and creator of healing spaces. If you need healing, and honestly, who among us doesn't? Take one bold step today, not tomorrow, not when things calm down. Today, research culturally affirming therapists, join a support group, have that honest conversation you've been avoiding. And if you're in a position to create or support healing spaces for others, recognize the sacred nature of that work. Donate to organizations making therapy accessible. Advocate for mental health resources in your community. Check on the strong friend who never seems to need anything. Our ancestors survived unimaginable darkness so that we could do more than just survive, so that we could heal, thrive, and transform. We honor their sacrifice not by enduring pain silently, but by claiming our right to wholeness loudly, unapologetically, and collectively. The journey from darkness to light isn't just possible, it's our birthright. And when we create spaces where that journey can unfold with dignity, with cultural affirmation, with community support, we don't just change individual lives, we change the future. So let us leave here today with this commitment to honor our wounds without being defined by them, to seek light without denying darkness, to create and step into spaces where our full humanity can be witnessed and cherished. Because a healed community is an unstoppable force, and that force begins with you, with me, with all of us refusing to accept anything less than the wholeness we deserve.